Potemkin's defense has been decreased in this patch. His defense modifying value has been changed. Previously, it was at 0.87, so this particular combo from Soul Bad Guy would do 190 damage. Now, that value has been increased to 0.91, meaning that the same combo from Soul will now do 197 damage, which is an increase of 7 total damage, meaning that Potemkin is a little less tanky than he was in the previous patch, making him a little easier to kill. Additionally, his forward Mega Fist has some changes to it. The startup has been nerfed. Previously, it was at frame 25 startup, but the blowback wasn't really anything that you could work with outside of the corner where you could get some close links. In the mid-screen, you really were left wanting. The startup has been slowed down now to frame 28. In return, the blowback has been improved so that you can actually combo into a crouching light kick and then add on some other special moves to it. In mid-screen, of course, you are still able to combo into this off of a crouching heavy, but again, you don't really get a follow-up in mid-screen, and that is true in this patch as well, so this isn't suddenly like some new combo tool in mid-screen for him to route into. There's simply more reward for it hitting raw, which I don't really think matters a whole lot, because the move is definitely worse for trying to get that raw hit due to the change in startup, as all the utility that it would have had before doesn't really apply anymore. In the corner, of course, the combo routes are very much the same. This is the old combo routing that you could look to go into previously, and a raw to heavy slash would not work. You need to do that second close slash, and it's very much the same case here in this patch, although, as you might notice, you do get pushed back a little bit more because of the increased combo blowback scaling. So it is a little worse as a combo tool. And previously, if you try to react to this move with a 6P or a 5P, you would pretty much be blown up, as this was an option for Potemkin to try and frame trap you with, but he'd be -6 in return. And now you can pretty much consistently react to this, and like at worst, you'll trade kind of like how we're seeing here. If you're very quick with your reactions, you'll be able to beat it cleanly. This is a nerf overall to the move, especially with the blowback scaling nerfs. Now going on to Slide Head. Previously, this was an armored move that could knock down the opponent from full screen. You know, this would be able to deal with strikes, it would be able to deal with projectiles, and now the armor has been removed, so if Potemkin tries to preempt this as you're swinging into him, he gets blown up. This is a severe nerf to his neutral, because that's basically a huge way for how he tried to get in. In compensation, the hurt box has been reduced, so now some moves might miss it because it's the same hurt box profile as his crouching animation. Slide Head is probably the biggest nerf to him in this patch, where previously you'd be able to travel with it from full screen, going 42 total frames, but now it only lasts for 38 frames, so it's lost 4 active frames effectively. In addition to that, with the reduced movement speed, it is a little slower at point-blank range. Previously, it used to be 22 frames, now it's 23 frames. And if we increase the distance, we see that it does get a little bit slower. At like double backdash distance, it took 29 frames in the old patch, and now it takes up to 32 frames, meaning it's a little less potent as a neutral slide-in tool. This does affect some of his OP options as well, but they're also very much intact. You could be point-blank range next to the opponent in normal throw range off of a pop buster in the previous patch with good timing. Now the best I can really see us getting is maybe about this range at +3, which is considerably farther back. I've been able to find the +1 range in this current patch timing. Moving on to FDB, it is a little faster. It used to be 19 frame startup, now it is 18 frame startup, and they said this means that it is less likely to be 6P'd, and so I tested every single normal. Off a 6P, it would frame trap in the old patch, which means it will frame trap in the new patch. 2K gets beat cleanly by a 6P match. In the old patch, 5K is the same story. 6K, you were able to beat 6P in the old patch. Now for sweep, same story. You're able to beat it. Close slash and 2S were also frame traps into this move, as was 6 heavy and 2 heavy. Now if we take a look at the impact of the startup in the current patch, the jabs are still 6P-able if you try to go into FDP. 6P still works as a frame trap. 2K still gets beaten by 6P, as does 5K. And 6K, as you might imagine, still frame traps. However, this is where we start to see the changes, where close slash into FDB actually is a true block string. 2S is not. That will still frame trap just fine. But far heavy as well as 2 heavy are also true block strings for FDB, giving him like safe gapless enders so that you can't beat DP. Lastly, of course, is the change to Heavenly Potemkin Buster, where you can no longer PRC it with only 50% tension gauge. More to the point, Potemkin is somewhat affected by the overall system mechanic changes. A very notable one would be the fact that YRC is now able to be used during Guard Crush. Previously, Potemkin's pressure with Garuda Impact was very oppressive with very little counterplay except for guessing right, but now you can YRC it and get him off of you. Additionally, though, he does actually benefit a little bit, I think, from the changes to risk, where previously, if he was grabbing you with Potemkin Buster, then he wouldn't really see an immediate benefit regardless of what your risk gauge was. The command throw itself would always do 166, but now, because it's changing the defense modifier value on the opponent, if he builds up risk on you, his Potemkin Busters will do more damage immediately. The combo, if he chooses to RC afterward, may be a little weaker, but the throw itself, without investing resources, is stronger. So with all of that, I think that it's pretty safe to say that Potemkin is overall nerfed in this patch. He's taking more damage, which means it's going to be easier to kill him in this patch, and he's less likely to be able to tank through everything. Mega Fist forward is certainly a big nerf where, it's worse in pressure, but you shouldn't be using it in pressure anyway, considering that you should just be doing like a Kara cancel into back Mega Fist to then be +1 in the opponent's face. And its utility in combos is certainly worse since, you're going to break the wall faster, you're going to be pushed back farther for using it, so you get worse links off of it at some points, as well as increasing how much risk it consumes, so then you're not getting as much value out of that risk. There is more reward for it, but its reward is on a raw hit, you really shouldn't consider it because a good player is not going to let you hit that raw, I would say. Slide Head, of course, and Hammerfall are two of the more substantial nerfs in this patch, which kind of show Arc System Works' intent with balancing Potemkin, and that's to hurt his neutral. He's this big, slow guy that's supposed to work his way to get in, but it was pretty easy for Potemkin to accomplish that. He'd armor through your attempt to zoning. If you threw out a move at the wrong time, Slide Head catches you, gave him a knockdown, then he was able to close the gap instantly with Hammerfall. Now, he's not able to get point blank next to you from full screen with Hammerfall, and you might have a few more frames to react to a close range Hammerfall in order to check it with a jab into Red Roman Cancel to break the armor on it. And Slide Head, of course, if he's just throwing that out willy-nilly with not a care in the world, you can interrupt it and make him respect your zoning, forcing him to use things like FDB instead to play a little more of a reactionary game that doesn't let him get in. So I think a zoning keep-away playstyle against Potemkin is going to be more effective in this patch, which is the playstyle that should be beating a grappler like this. There are a bunch of things, though, that weren't nerfed in this patch, right? His Potemkin Buster is still armored. That is still very much a thing, and I'm surprised that wasn't taken out, but I guess they want to see if targeting his ability to get strong Okizeme from full screen interactions, as well as taking away Slide Head's armor, is going to be enough to rein this character in and still let him be a menace up close. FDB change is a little bit of something there, and of course he's greatly hurt, I think, by the system mechanics, but that is yet another change that has to do some of the heavy lifting here, as Garuda Impact is still a projectile, so you can't FD and push him away. And yeah, while it's cool that you can Yellow Roman cancel it, you need that tension gauge in the first place in order to get him off of you. At least there is that, guaranteed counterplay to it. And that might create some new mind games of Potemkin baiting out your RC attempt and going in and punishing you for it or frame trapping it or whatever. But we'll have to see overall how this goes. Potemkin is a little bit worse, but we'll see if these nerfs are effective enough at bringing him down a couple of notches, because he was certainly a very strong character in a lot of people's opinion in the previous patch, and we'll see if this brings him in line more with the rest of the cast.